Harry Potter becomes a communist. The author, hardcore commie. It's rated M. It's fantasy parody. The main character is Harry Potter. It has 191 chapters. 68,820 words. 1,712 reviews. 805 faves. 593 follows. It was published back in 2017. Guess what? I'm not reading this entire bloody thing. I haven't even read it yet. So, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to read the first few chapters. Maybe 5 chapters at the most. We'll see. We'll see how long I last. The chapters don't look terribly long. So I think 5 chapters is, relatively safe. Alright. The author's note. I'm assuming this is supposed to be the author's note. There's no, like, bridge between the author's note and the beginning of the chapter. I don't own HP. JKR does, but it should be owned by the stat cause privacy property is evil law. Workers in the world year and night. Oh, bloody Christ. If you flam, you have false consciousness. There was a bloody my immortal clone. Harry, you look different, said Hermione as I joined, and it's in first person, of course, as I joined her and Ron in a compartment on the Hogwarts Express. I suppose I did. I was wearing a Ushanka with a red star, a Che Guevara t-shirt, and brown line glasses. I had grown a scruffy beard and had my scar changed from a lightning bolt to a hammer and sickle. Why are you wearing a shirt with that murderer on it? Asked Hermione as I sat down. He's not a murderer, he's a soldier, I explained. I'd be offended, but I know you've been brainwashed by the bourgeois capitalist establishment. You're suffering from false consciousness. What false consciousness? Asked Ron curiously. I knew he would be more open to communist ideas because he was part of the proletariat. I can't even say that. Whereas Hermione was part of the bourgeois intelligentsia. False consciousness is when the people think communism is bad, I explained. Since communism is good, it means they're obviously insane. Harry, are you a communist? Asked Hermione in a quiet voice. I could tell she was scared, probably losing her private property. As a matter of fact, I am, I said, knowing I had nothing to be ashamed of. Uncle Vernon was complaining about communists one day, and I decided that anyone hated by Uncle Vernon couldn't be that bad, so I read the Communist Manifesto and discovered how the world really worked. But, said Hermione, at a loss of words. President Reagan said the Soviet Union was the evil empire. He wouldn't have said that if it weren't true. I'm sorry, but President Reagan, President of the United States. Hermione, you're British. You're English. You're an English woman. Why do you give a flying fuck about what an American president says? I mean, I do, but that's because I've been in America for well over a decade. I sighed, wondering if Hermione was too deep in false consciousness to ever come around to the correct way of thinking. And that's the first chapter. And here's chapter 2, anyone who flames has false consciousness. I mean, at least the spelling and grammar is better in the actual story than it is in their bloody author's notes. Everyone stared at me as I entered the entrance hall, which was the entrance to Hogwarts, you don't say. I guess most people in the wizarding world wouldn't know about communism because they just seem to think I look weird. That was good. I'd be able to talk to them about communism without having to break through the revulsion conditioned into so many people by Western media. Suddenly, Professor McGonagall approached me. Now that I knew about communism, I could see that her face had the smug, satisfied look of a bourgeois elitism. You are not permitted to wear that shirt, she said oppressively. Che Guevara was an evil murderer or something. How fucking dare you? I yelled outrageously. I fucking have fucking freedom of fucking speech. Mr. Potter, that kind of language is not allowed in school. McGonagall said capitalistically. Neither is the image of Che Guevara, the hammer and sickle, or other symbols of hate. The fucking hammer and the fucking sickle are not fucking symbols of fucking hate, I explained. They fucking are fucking symbols of fucking peace. Fucking anti-communism fucking led to fucking imperialistic and fucking racist wars in fucking Korea and fucking Vietnam. You're a fucking racist. Charming. Charming indeed. I then put up my middle finger at her and ran into the Great Hall before she could stop me. I couldn't believe racist Professor McGonagall had tried to repress me. It was like Kent State all over again. You know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I just... okay, fine. I'll read another chapter. This is so bloody stupid. Author's note. Hadrian Malfoy. Harry, do not overreact. McGonagall was trying to take away Harry's fucking basic right of freedom of speak. I think you might be suffering from false consciousness. I'm assuming they're supposed to be talking to a reviewer. You know, people shouldn't even bother reviewing this story. It's obviously a bloody troll fic. I instantly saw the Great Hall had changed a great deal over the summer. The walls were now covered with gigantic flashy advertisements. Everywhere, the glossy and fake images showed the smiling faces of people thrilled to own consumer products made by starving children in Japan. Thoroughly disgusted by these symbols of bourgeois excess, I tried to avoid looking at them as I walked to my seat. As Dumbledore began to walk up to the podium, I saw that he was dressed exactly like the little Monopoly man, complete with a top hat. "Hello, my students," he said, stretching out his arms. "As you've probably noticed, Hogwarts looked a bit different this year. That's because the Ministry of Magic has been spending so much on the wars against Voldemort that there's no money left over for Hogwarts. Therefore, I decided it would be a good idea to privatize the educational system. I don't see any problem with this because I'm a libertarian." I gasped. I had never known Dumbledore was a libertarian. Libertarians had the gall to say that they loved freedom while being nothing but corporate shills, working tirelessly to make us all slaves in the big capitalists. All the respect I'd had for Dumbledore disappeared in an instant. "This year," said Dumbledore, his face shining with corporate greed, "Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry is brought to you by the Bertie Box Candy Corporation. Bertie Box, every flavored beans. They're a risk with every mouthful. And by the Nimbus Racing Broom Company. Why walk when you can fly with the Nimbus Racing Broom Company? Additionally, funding is provided by Glad Rags Wizardwear Group, Wiz Hard Books, and Coca-Cola." My mouth was hanging open. I couldn't believe the extent to which Dumbledore had sold us all out to the capitalists for a big buck. If I were in his place, I'd have closed Hogwarts before turning it over to evil corporate sponsors. "And now," Dumbledore continued, "allow me to introduce our new defense against the dark arts teacher, Professor Halliburton Pepsi." A man in an expensive suit with a briefcase stepped forward. He was obviously a member of the arch-capitalist bourgeois elite. "Thank you for that introduction, Albus," Professor Pepsi said corporately. "By the way, I want your office." "Oh, no problem, Hal," said Dumbledore, laughing. Professor Pepsi grinned, and I felt sick as when I realized that corporate fuck would be the real boss at Hogwarts from now on. Right, that was stupid. I said I was going to read 5 chapters. Okay, fine, I'll read 5. Chapter 4. So bloody stupid. Author note. If you flam, you're a useful tool of the big capitalist pigs on Whale Strat. The feast began, and we started to eat the food and shit. I thought of how the house elves were completely happy with their lot of life and realized that they, too, had been inflicted with false consciousness. Hermione had railed against house elf slavery, but it had accomplished nothing because she hadn't realized that it was just one small part of the larger capitalist system of bourgeois capitalist exploitation. "It's a good thing Hogwarts isn't funded by the government anymore," said Hermione with an air of bourgeois intellectual elitism. "Now the educational system won't be like the post office." "You fucking idiot," I yelled righteously. "Dumbledore has turned us all over to the fucking capitalists. We're their fucking corporate slaves now. Swearing like that is really unnecessary and it comes across as immature, said Hermione oppressively. How fucking dare you, I yelled. You say I can't speak my fucking mind after you defend the fucking actions of the fucking war criminal Dumbledore. I suppose you believe the fucking propaganda we're feed about how we're fighting a humanitarian war. Well, aren't we? Asked Hermione. Voldemort is bad. I know it's true because that's what the media says. There's no such thing as a humanitarian war, I said as I laughed in her face. The Ministry doesn't give a fuck about human rights. War is a product of the military-industrial complex. I don't think that's true, said Hermione from her ivory Burgoy's tower of capitalism. It's the Ministry's duty to kill people who kill people because killing people is wrong. At this point, I was so mad at Hermione's Burgoy's closed-minded false consciousness that I couldn't say anything. If only she could hear herself and realize what a slave she has to the capitalist imperialists. But it seemed she couldn't. It was so frustrating. Okay, the final bloody chapter that I'm reading, and I'm not reading anymore. A.N. How dare you call me fucking liberal? Liberals or fucking sellouts second corporate masterclass. I'm a communist. I'm not any part of your little system. I'm against it. Comrade Shea was not a racist. That was taken out of context. Oh, and if you had my parents, you'd be rebelling against them too. Okay, I'm assuming that's the author's name, and I'm assuming the rest of this is the chapter. My anger would fade later. As we started to get up from the feast in order to head upstairs to our upstairs dormitories, Luna Lovegood came over to me. She was quite a haughty, but I was too sophisticated to pay much attention to her shapely body and huge breasts. I overheard your conversation with Hermione, said Luna in a beautifully feminine voice. I think that what you had to say made a lot of sense, but it got even better later that night. As we arrived in our dormitory room, Ron turned to look at me, his face alight with hope and curiosity. I agree with every word you said to Hermione at dinner, he said rebelliously. I always wondered why this war on Voldemort seemed like nothing but an excuse to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. Now I see that's exactly what it is. You must tell me more about this communism you speak of. I smiled wisely and slapped Ron on the back. You're beginning your journey, comrade, I told him. Comrade? Asked Ron. Why are you calling me that? That's what communists call each other, I explained. Under capitalism, the richest 1% are fucking bastards who exploit 99% of the people. Communism thinks that's wrong. Why should your family starve while the richest pure-blood fucks are literally swimming in their own fucking gold? There's enough resources for everyone, and we should all get an equal share of the pie. That's why we communists call each other comrade, to show that we are all equal. What's communism's position on racism? Asked Dean Thomas. It's against it, I explained. Racism is caused by capitalism. Ever since the war on Voldemort started, the Ministry's been sending young black men off to die for a society which hates them. Could it be any more obvious that the real enemy is not Voldemort, but the fucking Burgoy's capitalist 1%? Harry, dear, this Voldemort murdered your parents, you realise, and he murdered a bunch of other people, you realise. I don't even know why I'm trying to logic with this story, because it's obviously bloody horrific. I don't even know why this was requested towards me. I mean, this is a bloody waste of time. This is a bloody waste of time. Whoever requested this story to me, why? Why did you send this my way? This is bloody garbage. This is bloody garbage. This is... almost done. Almost bloody done. I don't know, said Neville uncertainly. Where did bloody hell Neville come from? If that were true, I think we had heard something about it before. I laughed in his face at his fucking incredible naivety. That's because the fucking capitalists don't want you to hear it, I told him, laughing loudly. If you embrace communism, that's a threat to their fucking Burgoy's power. They want us all to go off and kill Death Eaters to keep us distracted from the inequalities of a fucking corporate sellout society. Silence followed these words. I could tell I had turned their brainwashed view of the world upside down. Had I made them see the light, eventually Seamus Finnegan stood up. I am a communist, he said. There was a tense silence. Then Neville stood up. Me too, he said proudly. I beamed at Neville. Finally, he achieved success he had never been able to under the bogus corporate system of capitalism. Me free, declared Ron, as I knew he would. He was part of the proletariat, and I had awakened him from his false consciousness. Me full, finished Dean. He embraced his embrace of communism was the least surprising, as he truly had nothing to lose but his chains. Not only was he part of the whatever, but he was racially oppressed because of his skin color. Like all wars, the bogus imperialist war on Voldemort had been built on fear of the other, and black people like Dean had suffered for it. I smiled at my 4 new comrades. I knew there would be more of us soon. Together we would bring down Dumbledore's bogus capitalist machine and achieve freedom for the fucking proletariat through violent means if necessary. Right, that was 5 chapters. That is me done. No more. That was atrocious. That was obviously a trollfic, and I mean, the fact that it goes on for like almost 200 chapters of this nonsense. Bloody Christ. Even his, like, image is like him, just as... just curious. Okay, so he's only written the 1 story, and his profile. So this is his profile. I'm a commie. I hate capitalists, the bourgeoisie, private property, the never-ending exploitation of the working class, and liberals. My heroes are Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot, and Castro. My favorite country is North Korea. Oh, yes. You know, that's rather funny that your favorite country is North Korea, and you're all about, oh, well, capitalism is evil because it suppresses people, and yet North Korea definitely suppresses its citizens. Not exactly a great example to be using there. America is the worst country in the world, and you have false consciousness if you disagree. Well, I wouldn't say America is the worst country in the world. It's not as fantastic as it likes to pretend it is. I mean, you know, considering what's been going on recently with, you know, women losing their reproductive rights, you know, kind of find it funny that America calls itself a free country when it keeps trying to take away rights from its citizens, but I digress. Check out Comrade Logi Mista's progressive tributes to my glorious fanfic of the people. No thank you. And yes, we are done. We are done. Yes, that was a colossal waste of time. I don't know who sent this story my way, but, why? Why? The creator might know why, but I most certainly don't. Right. Well, thank you all for watching today's episode. If you liked it, please be sure to leave a like and leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'll see you on the next episode. Until then, cheerio. I'm afraid I'm stuck. Hey, Creator, can you unfreeze me, please? I literally can't move. What's going on? It's taking forever to fade to black. Well, why is it taking forever to fade to black? Come on, fade to black already. Thank